Donald Trump's 11th attempt to adjourn trial was rejected just now by Justice Juan Merchan. Strike one, strike two, strike 10. Nope, strike 11. You're out. Yes, Donald Trump tried 11 separate times over the past few weeks to stop this trial from happening on Monday. The Manhattan District Attorney criminal trial is going down on Monday. The most recent attempt by Donald Trump to adjourn the Monday Manhattan District Attorney criminal trial for his falsification of business records to interfere with the 2016 election was a motion by Donald Trump to adjourn trial or delay it due to prejudicial pretrial publicity or due to prejudicial publicity. Justice Juan Merchan, who's presiding over the case, said a thorough and thoughtful and effective voir dire, which is the jury selection process, will be able to deal with any publicity and whether jurors can set their biases aside and be fair and impartial. Let's take a look at Justice Merchan's order. But when you look at Justice Merchan's order denying Donald Trump's 11th attempt at an adjournment, this one, Trump saying basically the people in New York hate me, people in Manhattan hate me. By the way, this is as Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans claim that they are, that they think that they can win New York in the election. And when Donald Trump has his adult child, Eric Trump, go on and do interviews and claim that they love us here. We built the skyline. Okay, you didn't build the skyline. You have a ground lease of a building, and then you had one other building. That's not building the skyline, but they said we built the whole skyline of Manhattan. So if you built the skyline, you would expect people to like you, but you didn't, and people don't like you. Here, play the clip.
To a city. My father built the skyline of New York City. And this is the thanks he gets?
And by the way, Donald Trump today as well was talking about the jury selection process. He gave this deranged and desperate press conference with MAGA Mike Johnson, which I'll share with you that clip in just a moment. But let me take a look at what Justice Merchan wrote. He says, defendant Donald Trump seeks a further adjournment. The 11th attempted adjournment of trial, quote, in light of exceptionally prejudicial pretrial publicity, which is substantial, ongoing, and likely to increase. That's a quote from Trump's lawyers. They whine about everything. Defendant, after seemingly waiting until the eve of trial to commission two studies, based this motion in part on a public opinion survey and review of news coverage. Trump's motion for a further adjournment based on pretrial publicity, Exhibits 1 and 2, argues that it is, quote, prejudicial media coverage has saturated the veneer, the prospective jury pool, and New York County is overwhelmingly biased against him. The people argue that defendant's motion should be denied for three reasons. First, the publicity is unlikely to recede, and an indefinite adjournment is inappropriate. Second, through voir dire, that's the jury selection process, it will allow the parties to select an impartial jury, as defendant's commission poll shows. And third, defendant's own incessant rhetoric is generating significant publicity, and it would be perverse to reward defendant with an adjournment based on media attention he is actively seeking. That's my favorite line of this motion. Trump is out there calling Stormy Daniels horseface, and he makes this a part of his campaign. He goes, horseface this. He's bringing the attention on himself, like when Donald Trump says this. Play the clip.
To bring charges against me for now ancient, no affair story of Stormy Horseface Daniels, no attraction. No affair, I call it no affair. Where there is no crime anyway.
Or when Donald Trump goes out and says this. Play the clip.
Marjorie is here, Truth to Vote, and they found at least 5 million instances on tape, and the courts didn't want to even look at it. The District Attorney of New York, under the auspices and direction of the Department of Injustice in Washington, D.C., was investigating me for something that is not a crime, not a misdemeanor, not an affair. I never liked Horseface. It's just not. It's terrible. That wouldn't be the one. There is no one. We have a great first lady.
The older I get, the more I find myself wanting to be more intentional about the way I live, what I eat, and how I take care of my body. Mosh is a company founded by Maria Shriver and her son Patrick Schwarzenegger with a simple mission to create conversation about brain health through food, education, and research. Maria's father suffered from Alzheimer's, and since then, she and Patrick have dedicated themselves to finding ways to help other families dealing with this debilitating disease. Mosh joined forces with the world's top scientists and functional nutritionists to go beyond your average protein bar with 6 delicious flavors. Each Mosh bar has 12 grams of protein and is made with ingredients that support brain health like ashwagandha, lion's mane, collagen, and omega-3s. They also have a line of plant-based protein bars in 3 delicious flavors. But here's the best part to make you feel good. Mosh donates a portion of all proceeds from your order to fund gender-based brain health research through the Women's Alzheimer's Movement. Why gender-based? 2/3 of all Alzheimer patients are women. Mosh is working closely to close the gap between women and men's health research. The Mosh bars are incredibly delicious. They are my favorite. My favorite is the peanut butter crunch. Now I eat my Mosh bar in the morning for breakfast, and it's the perfect way to kickstart my morning. I'm always carrying around my Mosh bars. The Mosh bars travel super well and always make for the best pre-workout meal for me. If you want to find ways to give back to others and fuel your body and your brain, Mosh bars are the perfect choice for you. Head to moshlife.com/Meidas to save 20% off plus free shipping on your first 6-count trial pack. That's 20% off plus free shipping on your first 6-count trial pack at moshlife.com/Meidas, MEIDAS. Thank you, Mosh, for sponsoring this episode. Justice Merchan goes on to say, for the following reasons, defendant's motion is denied. The United States Supreme Court has long recognized that adverse publicity can endanger the ability of a defendant to receive a fair trial. However, pretrial publicity, even if pervasive and concentrated, does not necessarily lead to an unfair trial. It goes on to talk about how there are numerous means and measures available to courts to minimize the potential prejudicial impact that pretrial publicity can have on a defendant's right to a fair trial. These measures include, but are not limited to, instituting so-called gag orders, extensive examination during voir dire, jury selection, and appropriate jury discussions. The remedy that defendant seeks, that Trump is seeking here, is an indefinite adjournment. Never let me go to trial. I'm scared, Judge. This is not tenable. In other words, the justice is saying, Donald Trump, ain't happening. As the people correctly point out, the Court of Appeals has recognized that adjournment is simply not an adequate remedy when there is a chance the postponement may become indefinite. Defendant appears to take the position that a situation in this case are unique and that the pretrial publicity will never subside. However, this view does not align with reality. In just the past 12 months, defendant has very publicly been involved in a multitude of criminal and civil cases across several states in both federal and state jurisdiction. In this county alone, defendant has 2 civil trials, one in state court and another in federal court. In those 2 matters, he was personally responsible for generating much, if not most, of the surrounding publicity with his public statements, which were often made just a few steps outside the courtroom where the proceedings were being conducted, and with unrelenting media posts attacking those he perceived to be responsible for his plight. This situation defendant finds himself in now is not new to him, and at least in part of his own doing. As the People aptly note, courts have repeatedly rejected any relief when, as here, the defendant willingly and voluntarily participated in pretrial publicity by giving statements to the media concerning the incident which formed the basis for the charge. And even as the judge was adjourning, while the judge was ruling on Trump's adjournment motion, Donald Trump was in Florida with MAGA Mike Johnson, just talking about the case, generating publicity, talking about the jury. Play the clip.
Can I just follow up on that? Why do you believe it is important for you to testify, take the stand in this upcoming trial? And what are you watching as jury selection begins in New York?
Well, jury selection is largely luck. It depends who you get. It's very unfair that I'm having a trial there. It's very unfair that we have this judge who hates Trump and has tremendous conflict, as you know, tremendous conflict. Nobody can believe that this judge isn't recusing himself. The conflict is at a level that nobody's ever seen before. So I have that, and I have venue. We have all these things that we've asked for. They don't give us anything. It's a witch hunt that takes place in New York, and that is taking place, and it's very bad for New York, and it's very bad for the judicial system in New York.
Then the order goes on to say that the court agrees with the People that the proper remedy to assuage defendants' concerns of alleged pretrial publicity is by conducting a thorough and effective voir dire process, jury selection. Finally, the court addresses the People's contention in Section D. Specifically, the People take issue with the liberties defense counsel has apparently taken in alleging that the People recently coerced Alan Weisselberg into pleading guilty and that the date of Weisselberg's sentencing was chosen to maximize prejudice to defendants. The People's justifiable concern compels this court again to express its continuing and growing alarm over counsel's practice of making serious allegations and representations that have no apparent basis in fact, or at least are unsupported by a legitimate basis of knowledge. Specifically, the defendant alleges in his memo that on March 4, 2024, prosecutors from the district attorney pressured Weisselberg to plead guilty to a 2-count information, charging him with perjury in the first degree, a Class D felony. The allegation does not attribute a source, nor is it accompanied by corroboration. The People in their opposition provide excerpts from Weisselberg's court appearance where under oath and subject to the penalties of perjury, he answered no when asked if anyone had forced him to plead guilty. The People specifically cite to page 9 of the transcript of the guilty plea. The court, are you pleading guilty because you are guilty? Alan Weisselberg, yes. Has anyone forced you to take a plea? The defendant, no. The People have provided the transcript to Weisselberg's guilty plea where he answered under oath in open court under penalty of perjury that no one forced him to plead guilty. This contrasts with defendant's accusation, which are entirely unsupported. In fact, defense counsel clearly ignores the words contained in the official transcript. The People here strive to make sure the record is clear as to defense counsel's continued pattern of presenting inflammatory, baseless, or downright false claims in sworn filings to this court. Because the People seek no further relief at this time, the court, for the time being, will merely make its observation for the record. The foregoing constitutes the decision and order of this court. So you see at the end what the court was saying there, that the court's getting ready to sanction Donald Trump's lawyers. And because the People, the district attorney, did not seek sanctions yet, there's nothing for the court to do, but the court basically is saying, seek sanctions next time. There will be serious ramifications for Donald Trump's lawyers in filing these things. I'm Ben Meiselas. This is the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 3 million subscribers together. Thanks for watching.
Enough! Send it to the big house, not the White House. Get the new exclusive tees, mugs, and stickers right now at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.